Remember when milk was just milk? When you could pour a glass and taste the cream, the freshness, that clean dairy flavor that came from cows grazing on grass? When the label said fresh milk, and you believed it, because surely a company wouldn't lie about something that simple. Real milk from real cows. That was it. No ultra-processing, no extended shelf life through questionable methods, no ingredients you couldn't pronounce. Those days are gone. Walk into any British supermarket today and you'll see entire refrigerated sections dedicated to milk. Cartons promising fresh, pure and natural, labels showing green fields and happy cows, marketing claims about British farms and quality standards. They've convinced us that all milk is basically the same, that the only differences are the fat content and the price, that we can trust these major brands to deliver what they promise. But here's what they're not telling you. Most milk sold in UK supermarkets has been so heavily processed that it bears little resemblance to fresh milk. It's been ultra-heat treated to extend shelf life, destroying beneficial enzymes and vitamins. It's been homogenized so aggressively that the fat molecules are broken down beyond recognition. And in some cases, it's been filtered and reconstituted in ways that fundamentally change what milk actually is. The cows producing this milk are often fed grain-based diets in intensive farming systems, not the grass that produces the best quality milk. The British milk industry has spent decades perfecting the art of making milk last longer on shelves while cutting costs at every stage of production. They've hired food scientists to develop processing methods that extend shelf life far beyond what fresh milk should last. They've employed marketing agencies to create images of pastoral farming that bear no resemblance to the industrial reality. And they've lobbied to keep labeling requirements vague enough that consumers can't easily tell the difference between genuinely fresh milk and ultra-processed dairy liquid. For generations, we've trusted these brands. We believed that milk from major retailers would be fresh and wholesome. We assumed that British farming standards meant quality. We thought that because everyone buys these brands, they must be acceptable. But that trust has been systematically betrayed. These companies know their processing methods destroy nutritional value. They know the farming practices behind their milk are intensive and industrial, and they keep selling it anyway because we keep buying it. Today, we're exposing 8 UK milk brands that are lying to you with every carton. Milk that should never be in your shopping trolley, let alone in your children's cereal. And number 3 is so problematic, it genuinely shouldn't be sold. Will your fridge staple make the list? Or have you been pouring ultra-processed dairy liquid onto your family's breakfast while thinking you're serving fresh milk? Let's find out. Coming in at number 8, we have Tesco Everyday Value Fresh Milk, the budget option that costs significantly less than branded milk. When something costs that little, corners have been cut somewhere. And with Tesco Value Milk, those corners affect both the cows and the quality. Tesco Value Milk comes from intensive dairy farms where cows are fed primarily grain-based diets rather than grass. This matters because grass-fed cows produce milk with higher levels of omega-3 fatty acids, vitamins, and beneficial compounds. Grain-fed cows produce milk that's nutritionally inferior, but grain is cheaper than maintaining pasture, so intensive farms use it to maximize milk production while minimizing costs. But the farming practices are just the beginning. Tesco Value Milk is processed to the absolute minimum standard required to be sold as fresh milk. It's pasteurized at high temperatures and homogenized aggressively. The result is milk that tastes flat and watery. Multiple customers describe it as having no flavor, as if it's been diluted. That's because the processing has stripped out the compounds that give milk its characteristic taste. What makes Tesco Value number 8 is what it represents. It's milk produced as cheaply as possible, from cows kept in intensive systems, processed to extend shelf life, and sold to families who can't afford better options. That's not providing value, that's exploiting people who have no choice but to buy the cheapest option available. At number 7, we have Cravendale, the filtered milk that's marketed as purer and fresher than regular milk. The packaging emphasizes that it's filtered to remove more bacteria, suggesting this makes it superior. Cravendale costs significantly more than standard milk, implying premium quality. But filtering milk isn't the improvement they want you to believe it is. Cravendale uses a process called microfiltration, which removes bacteria to extend shelf life. This allows the milk to last up to 3 weeks unopened, compared to about a week for standard fresh milk. But here's what they don't advertise. The filtration process also removes beneficial bacteria and compounds that contribute to milk's nutritional value and flavor. You're getting milk that lasts longer because it's been stripped of things that make milk valuable. And the taste. Many people describe Cravendale as having a slightly sweet, processed flavor. That's because the filtration changes the balance of compounds in the milk. It doesn't taste like fresh milk because it's been so heavily processed that it's fundamentally different from what comes out of a cow. What makes Cravendale number 7 is the deception. It's marketed as premium milk that's better for you. But you're paying extra for milk that's been processed more, not less. The extended shelf life isn't a benefit. It's evidence of how far removed this product is from fresh milk. Real fresh milk doesn't last 3 weeks because it's a living food that naturally changes over time. Number 6 is Asda Fresh British Semi-Skimmed Milk. Another supermarket own brand, another product where cost-cutting affects quality. Asda milk comes from a mix of suppliers with no consistency in farming practices or feed quality. Some of the milk comes from intensive farms with questionable animal welfare standards. But what makes Asda milk number 6 is the processing inconsistency. Multiple customers report that Asda milk tastes different from batch to batch. Sometimes it's acceptable, other times it has an odd flavor or goes off quickly despite being within date. That inconsistency suggests problems with quality control and supply chain management, and the shelf life issues. Numerous reviews mention Asda milk going sour days before the use-by date. That's not just inconvenient, it's evidence that the cold chain isn't being maintained properly, or the milk wasn't fresh when it was packaged. When you're buying milk that goes off prematurely, you're wasting money and potentially consuming milk that's already degrading. One customer described buying Asda milk that smelled off the day they bought it, despite being several days within date. That's unacceptable. Fresh milk should smell clean and sweet. If it smells sour or odd when it's supposedly fresh, something has gone wrong in the production or storage process. At number 5, we have Sainsbury's So Organic Whole Milk. And this one might surprise you because it's organic. Surely organic milk is better? Not necessarily. Sainsbury's. So organic milk is organic in that the cows are fed organic feed and aren't given routine antibiotics, but it's still ultra-heat treated to extend shelf life. UHT processing heats milk to extremely high temperatures, around 135 degrees Celsius, for a few seconds. This kills all bacteria and allows the milk to be stored at room temperature for months. But it also destroys heat-sensitive vitamins, denatures proteins, and creates a cooked flavor. UHT milk tastes fundamentally different from fresh milk because it's been cooked. What makes Sainsbury's So Organic number 5 is that it's positioned as premium organic milk, suggesting superior quality. But the UHT processing undermines any benefits from organic farming. You're paying premium prices for organic certification, but the processing has destroyed much of what makes organic milk valuable. The vitamins and beneficial compounds that organic farming preserves are then destroyed by ultra-heat treatment. And the taste. UHT milk has a distinctive cooked flavor that many people find unpleasant. Children who grow up drinking UHT milk often refuse fresh milk because they're not used to what real milk tastes like. That's not just a preference issue. That's training palates to accept processed food over real food. If you're still watching and finding this valuable, I'd really appreciate it if you'd leave the number 5 in the comments below. And if you haven't subscribed to UK Food Exposed yet, please consider subscribing and ringing that bell. Your support allows us to keep exposing the truth about what we're really buying. Now, let's continue to number 4, and then the shocking number 3. Number 4 is Cravendale Lactose-free. Another Cravendale product, but this time targeting people with lactose intolerance. Lactose-free milk is made by adding the enzyme lactase, which breaks down lactose into simpler sugars. This makes the milk sweeter and changes its nutritional profile. But what makes Cravendale Lactose-free number 4 is the double processing. It's filtered like regular Cravendale, and then it has lactase added. You're getting milk that's been heavily processed twice. The filtration removes beneficial compounds, and the lactase addition changes the sugar content, making it sweeter and potentially affecting blood sugar response differently than regular milk. And the price. Lactose-free milk costs significantly more than regular milk. While some people genuinely need lactose-free options, many people who think they're lactose intolerant actually just react badly to heavily processed milk. Real fresh milk from grass-fed cows, consumed in reasonable amounts, is often tolerated better than ultra-processed supermarket milk. But instead of improving milk quality, the industry has created an expensive, processed alternative. Multiple nutritionists have pointed out that the rise in lactose intolerance correlates with the industrialization of milk production. When milk was less processed and came from better-fed cows, fewer people had problems with it. Now we have ultra-processed milk that causes digestive issues, and the solution is more processing and higher prices. And here we are at number 3, the one that genuinely shouldn't be sold. It's Yazoo flavored milk drinks. And I know what you're thinking. Yazoo isn't marketed as milk. It's a flavored drink. But it's sold in the milk section. It's positioned as a milk-based product, and children consume it thinking they're drinking something nutritious. Yazoo chocolate milk contains more sugar than Coca-Cola. One 400 milliliters bottle contains 48 grams of sugar. That's 12 teaspoons. A can of Coke contains about 35 grams. You're giving children more sugar than a can of fizzy drink, but because it's milk-based, parents think it's healthier. It's not. It's a sugar bomb with some milk added. And the ingredients. After milk comes sugar, then glucose syrup, then fat-reduced cocoa powder, then stabilizers, emulsifiers, and artificial flavoring. You're not drinking chocolate milk. You're drinking sugar water with some milk and chocolate flavoring. The milk content doesn't make this healthy. It just makes it deceptive. But here's why number 3 genuinely shouldn't be sold. It's specifically marketed to children. The packaging is colorful and appealing to kids. It's positioned in school lunchboxes and as an after-school treat. And parents buy it thinking they're giving their children calcium and protein from milk. But what they're actually giving them is a massive sugar hit that will spike blood sugar, cause an energy crash, and contribute to tooth decay and obesity. Pediatric dentists describe flavored milk drinks as one of the worst things for children's dental health. The combination of sugar and the way children sip these drinks means prolonged acid attacks on tooth enamel. And pediatric nutritionists point out that children who regularly consume these drinks are being conditioned to expect intense sweetness, making them more likely to reject plain milk and water. At number 2, we have Alpro soya milk. And yes, I know it's not dairy milk, but it's sold alongside milk, marketed as a milk alternative, and many people buy it thinking it's healthier than dairy. It's not. Alpro soya is an ultra-processed product made from soya beans, water, sugar, and a long list of additives, including calcium carbonate, stabilizers, and vitamins. The soya beans used are often genetically modified and grown using intensive agriculture with heavy pesticide use. The processing involves extracting protein from soya beans, mixing it with water and additives, and fortifying it with synthetic vitamins to make it nutritionally comparable to milk. But synthetic vitamins aren't absorbed the same way as natural vitamins from whole foods. What makes Alpro number 2 is that it's positioned as a healthy alternative to dairy when it's actually just a different type of processed product. The environmental claims are questionable given the intensive agriculture required for soya production, And the health claims ignore the fact that you're drinking a heavily processed beverage with added sugar and synthetic nutrients. And here we are. Number 1. The absolute worst milk brand sold in Britain. It's any supermarket own brand Long Life UHT milk, Tesco Long Life, Asda Long Life, Sainsbury's Long Life. These products represent the absolute nadir of what can legally be called milk. UHT milk is heated to extreme temperatures, destroying vitamins, denaturing proteins, and creating a cooked flavor. It's then packaged in aseptic cartons that allow it to be stored at room temperature for months. This isn't fresh milk. This is shelf-stable dairy liquid that bears minimal resemblance to what comes from a cow. The taste is distinctly cooked and unpleasant. The nutritional value is significantly degraded. And the fact that it can sit in a cupboard for 6 months tells you everything about how far removed it is from real food. Real milk is a living product that naturally changes. UHT milk is a dead product that's been sterilized to the point where nothing can grow in it. What makes supermarket UHT milk the absolute worst is that it's often bought by people who don't have reliable refrigeration or who are trying to save money by buying in bulk. They're getting the lowest quality milk at a time when they most need nutrition. That's not just poor quality, that's a systematic failure to provide decent food to people who need it most. So those are the 8 worst milk brands in Britain. 8 products that range from nutritionally inferior to genuinely harmful. But here's what you need to understand. Real milk still exists. Milk from cows that graze on grass, processed minimally and sold fresh. Look for organic whole milk from brands that specify grass-fed cows. Look for milk with short shelf lives because that indicates minimal processing. Avoid anything that lasts more than a week unopened. Avoid UHT milk entirely. And avoid flavored milk drinks that are just sugar with some milk added. Brands like Ivy House Dairy, Gazegill Organics, and local dairy farms deliver real milk. Yes, it costs more. But you're getting actual fresh milk from well-treated cows, processed minimally, with full nutritional value intact. The uncomfortable truth is this. The milk industry has industrialized and processed milk to the point where much of what's sold barely resembles real milk. They've prioritized shelf life over nutrition, cost over quality, and profit over the health of the families buying their products. But you know better now. You know that cheap milk comes from intensive farming. You know that filtered milk has been stripped of beneficial compounds. You know that UHT milk is nutritionally degraded. The next time you're reaching for that familiar carton, remember this. You might be buying ultra-processed dairy liquid, not real milk. What are your thoughts? Have you been buying any of these milk brands? Share your experiences in the comments below. And if you found this helpful, please subscribe to UK Food Exposed and ring that bell. We're going to keep exposing the truth about what's really in our fridges. Thank you for watching. And remember, demand real food.